It seems that prisons are scary no matter what. It's full of prisoners, it's scary because of the inmates. It's empty, well, it's haunted. There really is no winner. I'm your host Yusuf, and these are the top 10 most haunted prisons in the world. Make sure you subscribe and ring that bell to get notified whenever we upload a new video. Anyways, we all go a little mad sometimes. Number 10, Alcatraz. The Rock was the ultimate American prison. It was the place where scores of the country's worst criminal offenders, bloodletters, bad men, and escape artists called the end of the line. The initial prison was built in 1859, but fell into disuse by the 1920s. It was then reopened in 1933 to be an escape-proof federal prison. It was a brutal place of punishment and confinement with few privileges. In 1946, several inmates attempted a violent and bloody escape from the Rock, but failed. There were a handful of other escapes, but only one successful escape in 1962. Using handmade rubber rafts and dummies with real hair, vanished into the dark waters of the bay. Alcatraz was closed down 1 year later, in 1963. Regarded as one of America's most haunted places, ghosts have been widely reported ever since, even by staff members of the National Park Service, which now operates the property. Ghosts have been sighted along with strange sounds, screams, yells, weeping, and eerie music. Number 9, Ohio State Reformatory. The Ohio State Reformatory, made famous in the film The Shawshank Redemption, was opened in 1896, and it saw untold thousands of prisoners during its years of operation. And while once applauded as a place that could humanely reform first-time offenders, the conditions deteriorated to the point that it became known for abuse, torture, and execution. Already considered overcrowded and inhumane by the 1930s, the massive prison was kept open until 1986, even after a federal lawsuit was filed by the inmates that cited that it was unfit for human occupation. Since the closing of the reformatory, stories have circulated that it is haunted by the tormented spirits of former inmates, guards, and prison officials who have simply never left. Apparitions have been reported, footsteps have been heard, and unsettling encounters have taken place in the cells where the inmates once lived, suffered, and sometimes passed away. Number 8, Lake County Jail. The Lake County Jail, located in the county seat of Crown Point, was built in 1908 and enlarged 20 years later. At that time, county sheriffs were required to live at the jail, and so the combined residence and jail included all the facilities needed for its purpose as a law enforcement institution. Located within the walls were the family's living area, warden's residence, department offices, 150 cells, maximum security accommodations, institutional kitchen, food storage, heating and cooling systems, barbershop, and a garage. It was considered to be one of the finest in Indiana and thought to be escape-proof. However, on March 3rd, 1934, gangster John Dillinger proved it to be otherwise when he made a daring escape that gave the jail its continuing infamy. The jail remained in operation until the 1970s, when it became a historic site. As restoration has continued over the last 2 decades, stories have emerged about a haunting at the jail. Apparitions have been seen in cells and corridors, strange photographs have been taken, doors open and close by themselves, lights turn on and off, and disembodied footsteps and voices have been reported by volunteers and visitors alike. What do you think they have in the garage? Comment down below. I personally think it's a Lotus. Number 7, Pottawattamie County Jail. Built in 1885, the old Pottawattamie County Jail is one of the most unusual houses of incarceration in America. The jail has a 3-tier cell block with 10 cells on each tier. It was originally designed to rotate continuously throughout the night by means of a water wheel in the basement, earning it the nickname of the Squirrel Cage Jail. In this way, all of the prisoners could be watched from a central location. Unfortunately, the 45-ton cell block was simply too heavy to work right, and it became stuck frequently. Eventually, the jailers gave up on the plan, and a night guard had to be hired. The cylinder continued to be used until 1960, when a prison passed in his cell and the cell block jammed, trapping the body in the cell for several days. After that, cell doors were cut into every cell. The jail was closed down in 1969, and during its history, 4 passes occurred within its walls. One man passed away from a heart attack, another in a fall when he tried to write his name on the ceiling, another ended himself in his cell, and the last after an accident when an officer accidentally shot himself in the confusion of protecting the jail from an angry mob during the farmers' holiday strike of 1932. It's no surprise that these unlucky individuals, along with others, are believed to still linger at the old jail. Number 6, West Virginia Penitentiary. The prison was built on the edge of Moundsville in 1866. The prison remained open for 129 years, finally closing down in 1995. During that time, the structure housed thousands of prisoners. Many lost their lives here through both state-sanctioned executions and during prison violence. Since its closure, the prison has become known as one of the most haunted sites in history. Staff members and visitors alike have reported ghosts in North Hall, where the most dangerous inmates were housed, in the execution chamber where Old Sparky sent many to an early grave, and the Hole, a brutal solitary confinement area that often drove inmates to insanity and thoughts of ending themselves, with passings, violence, executions, and horrible conditions combining to make a terrifying haunting. Ghost hunters have flocked to the former penitentiary over the years. Visitors claim to have experienced the sound of phantom footsteps, voices and noises that have no explanation, inexplicable cold chills, overwhelming feelings of panic, and more. Number 5. Missouri State Prison. During its operation, it saw many infamous prisoners, including Charles Pretty Boy Floyd, James Earl Ray, and Bobby Greenlee's kidnappers Carl Austin Hall and Bonnie Heady. They were executed at the prison. In 1954, there was a major riot at the penitentiary. The Missouri State Highway Patrol, Missouri National Guard, and police departments from Jefferson City, St. Louis, and Kansas City, Missouri, were called in to help quell the disturbance. When it was all over, 4 inmates had been executed, 29 had been injured, and there had been one attempt on someone's own life. 4 guards had been seriously injured and several buildings had been burned. During its operation, 40 inmates were executed in the gas chamber, and Time magazine once called it the bloodiest 47 acres in America for the frequent violence inside its walls. It probably comes as no surprise that since its closure, the penitentiary has become a hotspot for paranormal activity. Staff members and visitors have reported dozens of eerie encounters with lingering spirits, which have been seen, heard, and encountered firsthand. Number 4. Shrewsbury Prison. The Shrewsbury Prison in Shropshire is one of the oldest prisons in the UK, and in addition to its dark history, it's a given that this jail is one of the most haunted in the UK as well. This prison opened up all the way back in 1793, all the way until 2013, meaning 2 centuries of people went through this place. During the Victorian period, large audiences would assemble to see public executions, some of which were people who had been given the execution penalty for crimes like stealing bread. Apart from that, this prison went through many other public executions, torturing, and many taking their own lives. Visitors to the prison claim that a shadow man lurks in the prison's A-wing. It's said that he's a former police officer, since they are known to scare people away from the A-wing as if they were still working their job. Oddly enough, this jail has an escape room within the cells of the former inmates, so if you are looking for something for a real experience, that would be your best bet, just for the price of £69. Number 3. Wyoming Territorial Prison. The Wyoming Territorial Prison in the city of Laramie opened its doors in 1873, and over its time of being active, it would have many problems with overcrowding, causing many prisoners to be bunched together in already terrible living conditions. This prison is not like the other typical haunted prisons. It didn't have horrific executions, nor did it have riots or mistreatment. Instead, this prison is haunted due to a select few spirits that chose to stick around here for whatever reason. The spirit is believed to be that of Julius Greenwelch, who was an inmate in the 1890s. He was sent there because he executed his wife after finding her at his favorite brothel. During his days at the prison, he became so notorious for his talent in cigar rolling that he was allowed to set up a cigar making business while behind bars. However, in a few years, he would pass away from a heart attack, causing his business to never grow the way he envisioned. Ever since, the prison has parts of it smell like cigar smoke, with the guards and locals claiming the smell is the spirit of Julius. Number 2. Napier Prison. Located in Napier Hill, New Zealand is the Napier Prison. Built in 1862, this prison lasted over 130 years until it eventually closed in 1993. Now, this prison was once used as an orphanage and then a psychiatric hospital, so it's really no surprise at all that this place is considered one of the most haunted places in New Zealand. During the time it was active, this place was the last place many people saw in their lives, because many execution sentences were done inside of this prison. The most notorious of the execution sentences was the one given to Roland Edwards. He was a mass slaughterer who was sentenced to execution in the gallows, but ever since, he has been said to haunt the prison with a special appearance on the anniversary of his passing. He passed away on July 15th, so this is when many paranormal investigators visit the prison for the chance to speak to Roland. Now, there are ghost tours that go through the prison, but make sure you never go alone, because nighttime security guards often report unexplained footsteps and doors slamming on their own when they walk the grounds alone. Number 1. Wyoming Frontier Prison. Located in Rawlins, Wyoming, the Wyoming Frontier Prison has the reputation of being one of the toughest prisons in the Wild West. Opened in 1901, it housed some of the most violent inmates, featured a dungeon, botched executions, and was known for rampant violence. Now a museum, employees and visitors alike have reported ghostly encounters. There have been apparitions spotted in the cell blocks and reports of a malevolent spirit in the dungeon who has threatened visitors. The prison is so notorious that it was featured on an episode of Travel Channel's Ghost Adventures, and ghost hunters have captured orbs on camera. The museum offers haunted Halloween night tours if you want to have a ghostly encounter of your own. Thanks for watching, leave a like and comment if you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time on Crime Time. Ooh.